Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome into the Back to 12 podcast. I am RC Maxfield, the man drinking water right there for those watching on YouTube. And yes, it is water. This is not a Twitter Spaces. So if you get it, you get it. And if you know, it is water. That is Lyle, just second all time in TD receptions at Texas Tech. Lyle, how you doing today, my friend? I'm a little tongue-tied today, if you can't tell.
Hey man, blessed to be in your presence. Like I said, for those of you guys that ain't or are not seeing him on YouTube, man, my guy is got a new look. And I'm just trying to, keep these other ladies off of him. I know he's a taken man. And so just want to let y'all know, usually I'm worried about CBS and ESPN, all those types. Now I'm worried about the ladies. My man got his mustache growing out. So ladies, I'm sorry you waited too late. My man's off the market.
I feel bad for anybody that has to look at me for an extended period of time right now. It's bad, but it's for charity. That's what it's for. I got challenged by a couple of my coworkers at my other job because I forgot to shave one day. For those that don't know, quick story. And I look terrible with facial hair, people. I do.
You
It's
look
just the
good,
facts
folks
of it.
at home. You
Listen,
look good.
Lyle, you are a friend. You are a saint. You are a scholar, but there is no reason to lie to these nice people. This thing on my face looks like a naked mole rat died and finally realized that it could grow hair. Okay? That's what that's what it looks like right now on my face. And I was talking to Lyle before we got on the podcast and started pressing record. I don't like looking at myself in the mirror right now. It is a bad look, but it's for charity. I'm all about it. So I'm going to stick it out until 2 days before Thanksgiving and make sure that my coworkers, they got to donate a little bit of money to charity. So I'm all about it. But enough about me. Let's talk about Texas Tech football, Lyle. As I told you before we press record, I'm going to have to go on a soapbox today about your boy. I'm going to have to. And you know who your boy is. It's Zach Kittley. We're going to have a conversation. As Charles Barkley said, there will be a dialogue, right? We'll talk about TCU a little bit, not much. It's mostly just going to be the soapbox and how I want to get your opinion on something in terms of one play. And then we'll talk about the biggest game of the year for Texas Tech. Let's face it, this is the biggest game of the year for Texas Tech if they want to make a bowl game. But let's start about TCU here, Lyle. 34-24. Texas Tech was leading this one 17-13 until I'll be honest, I thought it was a phantom face mask call, personally. If you know
they
the
slowed
rule,
it down. It was.
yeah, it's okay. And this is my question to you about it, because the rule is pretty clear. You can't pull or grab. He did neither of those things. That's what a face mask penalty is. You can technically hit somebody in the head. If we're being honest about it, it probably should have been roughing the passer because he hit him in the face. And we all know you can't hit the quarterback in the helmet. It's just a penalty like that. It's whatever, right? But that wasn't the call. They called a face mask. My question to you is this, Lyle. Is that the type of play that can swing the momentum to another team, and not just that one play predict the outcome of a game, but really swing it in another team's favor?
I think for the biggest thing that tells us is about our team. The fact that one of those plays can sway the momentum so much lets us know what we're working with. And I think a lot of times, like I say that a lot. And like I said, when we have these podcasts, I'm not saying any coach is calling perfect game by any means, but when you have a team as a coach, you got to understand a lot of this comes on the players. And like I said, the coach can do his best to do the culture. I think the culture is great right now from the last couple of years. So it's not the culture. Could some of the play calls be better on both sides? Probably so. But at the end of the day, being the Mike Leach guy, Mike Leach called about 5 plays, and we were number 2 in the country. So I think a lot of that had to do with the players not allowing banding together, not allowing those type stuff to go on and let that affect the game so much. And so I think we criticize these guys, but I think the people that need to be criticized the most is the players, because at the end of the day, they're recruiting these guys to come in and make the play. And these guys want to put Texas Tech on the map, and they want to do that. But you've got to come make those plays as well. Like I said, for those who don't know, you're going to get college coaches, and I'm not speaking on Texas Tech coaches, but I said this in a pod earlier. You're going to get coaches that aren't that good at coaches. All right, you're getting coaches that are good at recruiting to get kids that already have the tools so they don't have to coach them as much. So y'all got to understand it's their job to recruit, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're great coaches. So those kids that are coming, we get mad at the kids as well. We get mad at the coaches as well. But it's a twofold. You got to have kids that are showing up, making those plays. Like I said, Crabtree being here, I don't think there's much coaching going on when he was here. I think they told him what routes to run, and he did the rest. But I think it's being capable of getting those guys here that can make those plays, and also every now and then you'll have a special coach that's able that played the game that understand the ins and outs of it. And I think in college football that's the biggest thing. If you can find a guy that recruit and knows the game in and out, I think it makes a difference. So I think that's the biggest thing that to get back to your question is I think that shows us how our team is. Our team is so fragile right now. So I don't know, young, new, however you want to say it, that one penalty flipped the whole game and changed the momentum of a team that we probably shouldn't have been beating and we weren't supposed to win, and we had an opportunity to kind of take advantage of that.
Well, I think that there's a lot of circumstances behind that. And like I think it's fair to criticize the players in this situation. And again, I hate being this guy, but this game on Saturday, and it goes both ways, not just Texas Tech or TCU's way. The officiating was trash, trash, right? Multiple missed DPIs for both teams. That face mask penalty, there was a phantom holding call as well. I mean, it was bad. And like, I don't want to, and I tweeted this out, and here's the thing. I think in those type situations, right, you look at the scenario, you got to set the scene a little bit for this play, right? Texas Tech is up 17-13. TCU, if that call would have not gone the Horned Frogs' way, would have had a 3rd and 14 at their own 30, right? So you think about just kind of how this flips. Instead of having a 3rd and 14, you got a 1st and 10 at the 50. And I think the big thing is this. At this point, why it was so demoralizing, in my opinion, was not because of the play itself or just even on the players. It was that the defense was on the field for a long time. Like, the offense was just not good. It just wasn't, right? Mm-hmm. You held, realistically, TCU as a defense to about 27 points. And we're talking about, we talked about it last week. This is one of the best offenses in the country, right? Like, hats off to Sonny Dykes. He's done a phenomenal job. But in my opinion, this kind of play can change the whole course of a game because it's your star player doing it too, right? Like, I hate to, again, be this guy, but let's face it, stars get better calls than dudes. Like, it's just the facts, right? Like, it's the fact. In any league you play in, you could be playing in high school, you could be playing in college, you could be playing in the NFL, Canadian Football League. It doesn't matter. The stars get the calls, right? And here's the thing. When you look at it, I get Max Duggan as a star as well. Tyree Wilson is a star as well. You can't get that call wrong. You can't. Like, you just can't. It changed the entire complexity and the momentum of a game that, I'll say it, I don't know if Texas Tech wins. If we're being honest, they probably don't. But in a situation where it goes from 3rd and 14, you would like to think your defense can get a stop there. The odds are that they do, right? And so you get a stop. TCU has to punt. I am by no means saying that Tyler Shough or Donovan Smith are going to drive down the field and give Texas Tech a 2-possession lead, but you feel better about your chances of winning a football game going into the 4th quarter with the football as an offense. Potentially, let's just say they have an average punt, probably at your own 25, right? If not a little further since you ran one play, with the potential to go up 2 possessions. And I get it. There's a lot of people on social media saying, especially TCU fans, I don't know if you know this, there actually are TCU fans, Lyle. It's wild. I didn't realize that until really after this game, and I posted this. Know the rules. You cannot pull or grab. You can touch somebody's face mask, but you cannot pull or grab it. That is the NCAA rule. Tyree Wilson did neither. And I thought it changed the entire outlook on the game. And again, you're right. The players shouldn't get down and be defeated or anything like that after that one call. But I think after all they had been through in the past 24 hours, I don't know if you heard about it, but they were on the plane for 8 hours on the tarmac in Lubbock because of the weather. Didn't get to their hotel, didn't go through that routine. And athletes and routines are a big deal. Like it or not, it's the truth. And you have to adjust. I get that as an athlete, but it was frustrating, and it obviously doesn't help that your starting quarterback got hurt early on in this game. And this is, Lyle, where I might just need to go on a soapbox rant about your boy, Zach.
Before you go to
go ahead.
I do gotta say, I do gotta say on that, like I said, any player that's ever played the game knows how it goes. If you're going to play the University of Texas and they're number 10 in the country, you're not going to get calls, regardless of whatever it is. Like, that's any athlete that knows. And we were number 2 in the country, and Oklahoma State came to play us. We got more calls than them. That's the way it goes. So, number one, they know, anybody that knows that if you're expecting to go to opposing opponent's place with them having a chance to go to the college football playoffs, you're not getting that. So, number one, they should know better. Anybody that's played the game knows better. Texas Tech hasn't been ranked over many teams, so these dudes should all know anyway, because it's every week that we're going, and when we play somewhere else that they're ranked higher than us, number one. And then number two, like I said, I hear the whole, the routine stuff. Yes, that is important to a certain extent, but when you play for Mike Leach, there is no routine. So once again, for me, I have a different outlet of that, because Mike Leach might get mad and make us roll on Friday before the game. And so, like, there is no, it's show up. That's what you get a scholarship to do. That's what people have come before you to give you that opportunity to show up. So, for me as a player, as a coach, I don't care about routine, really. I would like to keep it the same, but we need guys that's not going to care about routine, that's going to go out there and make the plays regardless of the situation. And like I said, we go back to these quarterbacks, but these receivers, man, I'm not going to say what I have to say, but it's terrible. It's 2 catches every week. Like, 2 catches every week is our top person. And to me, that's a sign. Like, we can go back years on years. I've never seen Danny Amendola have 2 catches. I've never seen Crab have 2 catches. Hell, I have more than 2 catches almost every time. So, that's guys not getting open. We throw the ball 60 times. So, for people to have 2 catches, that's saying, to me, personally, as a coach, as a former receiver, that's saying a lot more about these receivers. I would dream to get to go out there and throw it 60 times. With Leach, we kind of got that. When with Neil Brown, we didn't throw it 60 times. 60 times, I probably would have had 20 catches, because there's enough balls to go around for everybody getting open. So I think, those receivers, they got to figure it out, man, soon. I think that people have kind of found what our weakness is on offense, and they're taking advantage of it. Like, to me, I'd rather throw it to our tight ends than our receivers right now. I think that the tight ends get open way more than our receivers.
That's part of my complaints about your boy.
Okay, go ahead. No, I'm ready.
It's twofold. First of all, what the hell is he doing running a quarterback option on 3rd and 11? What the hell are you doing? And again, I would love to hear your explanation after. I just need to get this soapbox off my chest, because I've been waiting for this moment, and I wanted it to be live and unfiltered. And he does not know this is coming. Lyle does not know
I'm
this
excited,
is coming.
though. That's the thing. I'm really hyped up.
Here's the thing. And I want to be critical to the coach, not the person. Everybody should know that, right? I think Zach Kittley is a great dude. But he had play calls on Saturday that had no business being called in a Power 5 football game in the position Texas Tech is in, okay? Listen, what has been the biggest talking point all year about this Texas Tech football team? The damn quarterback position. What has been the most injury-prone position on this team? The quarterback position. Why in God's green earth are you deciding to run the football with Behren Morton, the guy that gives these wide receivers at least a semblance of a chance to get open, on 3rd and 11 when you already know he has an ankle injury? What in the hell are you doing? And don't get me started. Don't even get me started on these QB option plays that he decided to keep doing. I don't get it. That's the one that pissed me off, though. Listen, Lyle, when you get, and I get sack yards are kind of involved in this too. All right. But you ran the football with your quarterbacks 17 times, 1-7. Okay. You ran for 13 total yards. It's not working. Stop it. Use the middle of the goddamn football field. I'm looking right at you right now. Okay? Please, for the love of God, change your Madden ass scheme up and run a real one. Okay? And I get it. Your wide receivers can't get open. The offensive line has struggled, but that does not mean put Behren Morton in a run power option at the QB spot on 3rd and 11. Why? I have nothing left to say, Lyle.
Already, okay. I understand that, and like I said,
but why? Why, Lyle? Why?
I explain from a coach's standpoint. I think it's a couple reasons. Number one, I think that we can't throw.
Give it to a running back, Lyle. Give it to a running back.
But I think some of that stuff he's doing is trying to clock control. Like you said, our defense is out there a lot. That's the flip side of this offense. So if he does what he really wants to do, throw the ball, our defense is out there more than they already are out there. So I think it's finding a way. Why I think option, because sometimes how they align, you get that. Like we play a team this Thursday. Every time we line up in a certain stance, they give us a 4-eye, which means that the defensive end is inside that tackle. So the tackle is an easy seal. There's one person out there. So literally, we don't run option either, but we are going to run option this week because all this man has to do is run out there, make one man tackle him, pitch the ball.
It's the quarterback reading the guy in his face. If he decides to cut it, quarterback takes it. If he decides to go with the quarterback, simple pitch.
But if that man doesn't hook him, that screws our play. If that receiver out there doesn't make that block, it messes up our play.
But why call that? I think this is the main issue with me, Lyle. Because I agree, you got to get creative here because you're right, 100%. Your wide receivers do not create enough separation consistently, and your tight ends aren't involved enough. And that's a Kitley problem, but also just really a scheme issue in general sometimes, right? I get it. You have running backs averaging 6 yards a carry. If you were trying to ball control at that point on 3rd and 11, don't run it with your quarterback. Run it with your running back. And it doesn't matter because what are the odds of Behren Morton actually picking up that first down on 3rd and 11 with a QB option than, let's say, Taj Brooks running it in the same spot? What are the odds difference? Like minuscule, maybe 4 or 5%? Maybe.
I think it's a huge difference because what we're looking at.
But is it worth it? I think that's the question. Is it worth it?
If you get the win, it is. If you don't get the win, it is.
But the thing is I get it, but I also think at the same time is it worth it from the standpoint of putting a guy, and he did it with all 3 of them, guys that have just continuously been banged up all year. I don't see the benefit. And now that's not saying like I don't want any QB runs. Like I just think you have to be more, I don't know, I guess considerate of the situation, right? Like especially just a dump off. Just do a dump off pass. Just do that.
Like I said, I think you get the same out of all 3. I don't think,
and that's fine.
Significantly better. So, I think the thing is too, for those guys that are going to practice something, if that's what they believe, that's what they practice. So you can't go out there and practice. And I know you want to switch it, but for those who don't know, like tackle to tackle is what we consider the box. What we read in the air raid offense is there 5 people from tackle to tackle? If there's 5 people from tackle to tackle, cool. We hand off the ball.
Yeah,
we got
simple,
5 on 5
because you got a cap for a cap. It's that simple.
Right. A lot of times they put that extra person in the box. You got 6 people in the box, 5 blockers. Well, our receivers are so I'm not gonna bash them, but they're not good. So what they're doing is they're putting extra people in the box and they're letting these receivers go one-on-one. So like I said, in this offense, he's trying to create ways to run into a 7-man box, into a 6-man box, because they don't respect our receivers enough. Whereas when we played, they had 5 DBs out there. You know what I'm saying? They had 5 to 6
But
DBs out there, and
that changes though, because they're running 12 personnel more than anything.
right, and that adds more. You know what I'm saying? So I think a
But
lot of
but
times,
but that, and I think this goes back to our point with the tight ends. And I promise y'all, some of y'all are waiting for this Kansas preview. I promise we will get there.
yeah, we're gonna get folks.
But like, if you let's say there aren't 12 personnel, right? For those that don't know, that means 2 tight ends. It's pretty self-explanatory with that. That means you got either 2 on one side, 1 and 1, 2 on the other. Doesn't matter, right? If that's the case, because let's be real, they're keeping multiple tight ends on the field, whether they're actually on the line or at a fullback spot behind the quarterback or whatnot, right? Like, they're doing that because they need extra linemen. Let's just be frank about it. That's really why they're on the field, right? So why not in that situation, like you're talking about, where they do bring an extra cap in there? So technically it would be 7 on 7, or it would be 7 on 8 potentially. Just depends, right? Why not leak a guy out? Like, what are we doing? Like, why not leak a guy out and use these tight ends more instead of running a QB option? Because I've replayed this play over and over in my mind. I've actually gone to watch it like more than I care to admit, Lyle. More than I care to admit. And I checked just that, and there were 6 guys in the box. I get it. That means, okay, hat for a hat on the offensive line, Beren's got to make 1 guy miss with the option, right? Just like we talked about. I don't want that to happen. I would rather Taj Brooks make the guy miss. I would rather SaRodorick Thompson make the guy miss and just have a fullback and Henry Teeter in the game, or put an extra tight end out there, right? Like, that's my thought process, because it's at this point now where I think it's very clear and easy to see the ceiling for Texas Tech drops dramatically. I think the ceiling drops dramatically without Behren Morton. Right? Like, you've seen these guys in terms of Tyler Shough. He just doesn't look like the same guy we saw at Oregon, and God bless him with all the injuries and stuff, right? Donovan Smith, he's just not decisive like he was against Texas. And that's probably just a confidence thing, right? Like, you're going to lose some confidence. You're a human being when you see 2 guys pass you on the depth chart. That's going to happen, right? Like, I think that's realistic. But I also think at the same time, the play calling has to put them in a position to succeed schematically. And just as we talked about, you're 1000% right. Teams are putting 6 in the box and making Texas Tech beat them with the quarterback. Why? Why do that? Just put an extra tight end, and if they put in 7, have him do a hedge block into the lineman. Yeah, he's got to block 2 for a second, but at least that allows the opportunity to roll out to the flat, whether that's with a running back screen or just his own route pattern, and that will leave the defense having to adjust. And at least at that end, it's like, hey, if there's nothing open downfield, because as we've mentioned, I think 7 times in the past, what seems 2 minutes, the wide receivers struggle at getting separation. At least you know you have a little leak out play right there, where it's just like, okay, even if I can't even get it to him, I can just throw it in the ground and we're saved. We lose no yards. Right? That's the thing I think that really bothers me in terms of what Zach Kittley is doing. And the thing is I see the flashes, right? Like, there's no doubt about it. The man's a genius. But at the same time, you have to work with what you have. But he just isn't adjusting to some of the things he has, in my opinion, or making some of those just like, I guess really what it comes down to, Lyle, is I'm upset about this run option. Like, I don't get it. It makes no damn sense. I'm just beating around the bush. It makes no damn sense to run a QB power option on 3rd and 11.
I think we're that bad though. Like, he's trying to create something that we don't do to try to change moment. It's that bad, because if you go back and look, he got a check down. We ain't hitting our check downs. We're not hitting. I mean, when we get people open, we're not hitting them. When we are open, we're dropping it. Most of the time, we're not open. So I think you have to try to figure out and try to do something. He's trying to do something different that they're not trying to see, because, like I said, it's a different level. And I said that once he came from Western Kentucky to to Texas Tech. I tell people that all the time. Like UTSA, they always go undefeated. I try to tell people if they're in the Big 12, they get smacked every week. It's a different level of athlete at each level you go. So I think, like I said, I think what he's trying to do is create different ways or find a niche. Because right now, the throwing, what he's doing ain't it. It's not happening. And running the ball, he's just trying to predict, because everybody knows on 3rd-11, we're probably going to hand it off because we can't throw. So I think he's trying to
As you should.
create something. And maybe it didn't work this week, but at the same time, if he hands it to Taj, we're not getting 11 yards. So I just think he's trying to find a way. How can I be creative? How can I do something different that may throw them off? They're like, man, they don't do the option. So maybe they didn't prepare for it is what his mindset was. But I think, like I said, it's very hard. It's very hard being in that situation before to call plays when you have kids that aren't capable of doing what you do. You know what I'm saying? Like, he can't switch it and go to I. He's going to do him. And it's hard to do what you do when these ain't your kids and they ain't doing, like, they're not getting open. They're not making throws. They're not making – it's very hard not to have an O-line, that's struggling to block. And so I think for the most part, you just got to think about, like, it's tough. It's like you going to take a test with no pencil and they're getting mad at you. Hey, man.
I'm more of a pen guy myself. I'm pretty confident, Lyle.
Or a pen with no ink. You're just
Yep.
like – what do you want me to do? And everyone's like,
Sure.
oh, just circle A. I know it's A. I see it's A. And like I said, if we get on the pod, I bet you if we got a kid on here, he'd say, yeah, I agree with you. But that doesn't necessarily mean that tight end's a good blocker, that tight end's a good route runner, that
Sure.
whatever the scheme may be, they may not fit that. Because like I said, I got a beautiful scheme up here at the high school. I do not have the kids to run it. So I have to definitely adjust to the way, but there's certain things I will always do because that's me. That's how I got here. That's how I brought up. That's my offense. And I'll try to create some wrinkles out of what I'm doing. But, like I said, I'm going to do what I do for the most part and I got to find a way. And I've been in the same boat, like we got under center like 3 times this year. That's tough for me. It's tough for me to hand the ball off more than one time. And we hand the ball off a lot this year on my team because that's what we have. So I think it's just different. I think he's adjusting too. He's understanding like these cats are a little different. The outside backers that he's going against at Oklahoma State is a little different than UTSA. And
Sure.
I've been trying to tell people that the whole time. Cincinnati, they getting these.
And I get it. And I get it. There's an adjustment period. And we got about like 7 minutes left on the pod.
Sorry, guys.
No, you're good. No, I want to get to the Kansas preview a little bit. I think the Kansas preview is actually pretty self-explanatory, but I needed to go on that soapbox. Obviously, I think people are going to like what they hear from you. There is an adjustment period for all of these coaches. It's just the reality of it. But let's talk about Kansas a little bit, Lyle. I think this is pretty self-explanatory. If Texas Tech doesn't win this football game, they're not going bowling. It's that simple. I think if you tell me right now who's the better team, I think it's Kansas. I think it's pretty clear. The job that Lance Leopold has done in Lawrence is phenomenal. And if he doesn't win National Coach of the Year, it's a rigged system. I was about to say. It's a rigged system. He has to win it. I'll say this. Let's keep it short just to their last name. Who starts at quarterback, Smith or Shough?
Shough.
I think it should be Smith, personally.
Oh, no, you're saying who I think or who will?
Who will?
Shough will. I think Smith should.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Smith either way.
You do?
I do. Because Smith gives you a better chance to do different things. Again, this is not a slight at Tyler Shough. I would do the exact same thing, but he just looks hesitant in a lot of things he's doing right now. And it's completely understandable. It's human nature. When you have that many injuries and everything like that, he just doesn't look like the guy that came in from Oregon. And it's understandable completely. I'll say this. When it comes down to it, I think if Texas Tech is going to win this football game, Lyle, they have to run the ball 30-plus times. Not, that's too conservative. They have to run the ball 37-plus times to beat Kansas because this is going to be a ugly ground and pound game from both sides. And here's the thing, too. I don't know if it matters if it's Jalen Daniels or Jason Beam starting for Kansas at the quarterback position. They're both pretty damn good guys. So real quick, Lyle, again, we got about 5 minutes left. And the reason we wanted to talk more about this TCU and the scheme offensively is because I think that's the biggest thing going on right now in Texas Tech football. Everybody's questioning that. And what better than a guy that's literally played offense at Texas Tech and knows Zach Kittley very well, to hear his opinion. But Lyle, with about 2 minutes, right? What are you watching most in this Texas Tech Kansas game in terms of improvements or whatever it may be?
My same thing every week, man. These receivers have to get open. So like I said, Kit can do what he wants to do, and it opens it up. And like I said, if I'm not a defensive coordinator, but if I'm playing Texas Tech, I'll probably man up everybody, put everybody else in the box, because that's how highly I think of the receivers right now. I think they have the ability. I just think they're not showing it right now. I think they are good receivers, but they got to figure it out. And we just got to
they're young. A lot of them are young and inexperienced still.
Hey, you know how I feel about that. Any other position, I'll give that out. But like I said, I played as a sophomore and I didn't have any problems. So, and I wasn't the best one by any means. So I think those guys got to figure it out. They got to get out. Once you step on that field, freshman, sophomore, whatever the case may be, you're a big boy. So they got to figure it out. And I think that's the difference. Because we can run it, but like I said, our strong suit is not our offensive line. So I think in order to open it up and make it easy for those guys, man, we got to be able to have a receiver catch more than 2 balls.
Give me a prediction. Total over under right now is
6. This hurts my soul every week having to do this, but I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go 35-21 Kansas.
Wow, you think Tech gets blown out at home? I think Tech wins, but I think it's close. I think it's like 35-32. I'm very concerned at what people will say if this is a loss, just because it's the brand name Kansas,
Would they just be OK State?
I understand that, Lyle, but people are just going to see Kansas and they're going to be like, how the hell did you lose to Kansas? This isn't your last year's Kansas that beat Texas and Austin, people. These guys are going bowling. This is a very good Kansas team.
Well, I do want to send a message to the players and coaches. I've been booed more than 10 times. So guys, keep rolling. I love everybody here, but y'all booed me 10 times.
There you go. Fair enough. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to watch. I think, again, if Texas Tech doesn't win this game, that's a wrap for the season. You ain't going to win the last 2. Both of them anyway. You're not going to win the last 2. No, you're not going to win at Ames, and you're not going to beat Oklahoma. Listen, it's called being a realist. Listen, I went to Texas Tech.
Wait, what time are they playing at Ames? Do we know?
No, we don't know. They're going to flex that after the game. Watch it be an 11 a.m. game.
That's better. That's better for us.
I think it's awful. I would rather play in the mid-afternoon. That's where Texas Tech thrives, I think, is mid-afternoon games. But that's just me.
It gets cold. I don't know. Whenever we play at Iowa, those night games were miserable.
It's Iowa. It's not going to be fun, Lyle.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing really good about Iowa.
I do got to say before we get off the podcast, it's on a totally different story, but I had to shout out. I don't know if you saw Mike Leach putting up those chairs, but I had to tell a story for this thing cuts off. I'll make it short because we only got a minute. But when we were playing OU, we were number 2 and they were number 5. They were blasting us, and every time that they scored, it was like 14-0. He cut off a heater, so we had 2 heaters. Everybody moved down. And they scored 2 more touchdowns. He cut off the second heater, so everybody was all huddled around this third heater. And they scored again. He was like, cut it off. We were out there with no heaters. He went and cut off all the heaters personally and unplugged them. It was hot. He's like, y'all could be cold while y'all lose. I'm like, come on, Mike. Let us at least be warm.
Damn.
Man. Yeah.
Hey, it obviously worked out for the better in a lot of ways. But he's Lyle. I'm RC. Help us get to 1,000 subscribers. We're like 10 away. Help us out. Help us get there. We'd really appreciate it. Lyle, where can they follow you real fast?
Hey, follow us at Coach Leong Twitter.
And you can follow
my
me.
Man.
There we go.
The blue check.
At RCMB323. We'll catch y'all next week. Hopefully we're discussing a Texas Tech win over Kansas. We'll catch y'all next time here on the Back to 12 podcast channel.